In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You are advised that any view expressed by the host or their guest are not necessarily the views of the owners or management of TogiNet Radio, Togi Entertainment, or the Owners Group, Inc.
It's time for Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues today, with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly. Ladies, Motherhood Talk Radio is here to give you a powerful platform by giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. Motherhood Talk Radio has interviews with best-selling authors, gurus of happiness, and women of interest who every single day make our world a better place for our families. Motherhood Talk Radio, powered by Motherhood Incorporated, is on the air now. Moms, this really is your show. Motherhood Talk Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mamas. We are here today with Christy Holly. Christy, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good today, actually.
I got to tell you, Christy looks really fine today. She's got her black pants on, her black tank top. Looks very good with her freckles and her, I don't know, you have like reddish blonde hair?
Yes. This is my workout attire that didn't get worked out in. I put it on in hopes that maybe I'll work out. You know, so in case I do work out, I'm ready to go.
Right, in the event that an actual, like a gym throws itself in front of your car.
Yes, I'm ready.
Can drive through the gates, get your workout, and come back out, you'll be ready.
Yes, I do this every day.
Well, that's good. You're a GTG girl. You're good to go.
That's right.
Well, we have a great show today. We have Denise Bozet, a registered nurse, and we're going to ask her all sorts of great questions about nursing. She's been a nurse for, 24 years? She's been in the ICU for 4. But before we get started, I want to talk to you guys about going to PepsiRefresh.com and signing up for Freedom Dogs. I know some of you who listened to us last week, this is a repeat, so just bear with us. But Freedom Dogs is a really important charity. What it does is it takes rescued animals like golden retrievers and Labradors and, dogs that have a propensity towards being a service dog, and it trains them to be service dogs to our wounded warriors. And as our battlefield mortality rates go down and the number of injuries that come back from the Middle East rise, these dogs provide a really, really important resource for our servicemen and women. They can, it's amazing what they can do, Christy. This is a dog that can actually start your laundry.
I need those dogs. I'm going to get a couple of them.
I wonder if they're colorblind. So I don't know how they would sort whites and colors.
We get service dogs for the hardworking, slaving housewives that are home alone.
That all have their limbs?
Yes.
Probably not. But it's a good thing that they are available, and they are, they're expensive. They're expensive to train, and they're very necessary. And Pepsi Refresh has a program that Freedom Dogs, last time I checked, they were in the 80s.
Okay.
Out of thousands and thousands of applicants. And we're going to see if Shrick over here can give us the actual numbers on Pepsi Refresh to see where Freedom Dogs is. They're currently ranked 95th, so we need you guys to get out and vote. And it doesn't cost you anything. You just sign up on PepsiRefresh.com.
And can you vote more than once? Is it once a day?
You can vote every day.
Every day. Oh, good.
Every day, because at the end of the challenge, there's going to be an award of $250,000, and that's going to provide training for a lot of dogs. And what's great for you animal rights people out there and the animal lovers out there, these are dogs that are rescue dogs. So they're not specifically bred. We're not bringing new creatures onto the planet. They're dogs that would be either set to be euthanized or they're in rescue programs looking for homes, and they find homes and they find a job.
So they're recycled dogs.
They are recycled dogs. Reduced reuse recycled dogs.
Awesome. And when does the challenge end? So how long do we have?
We have until June. June. We have until June 30th.
Okay.
And if you go on some of the different Facebook pages, Rick, what's your Facebook page? Rick Swanson? Yeah, look for Rick Swanson. It's on his He's in Los Angeles, California. It's on his Facebook page, so you can go ahead and vote there directly. You can go to Pepsi Refresh, PEPSIREFRESH.com, or refresheverything.com. That's the other site. I know there's a couple of them. And Freedom Dogs. Freedom Dogs is what we're going to look for.
Just imagine if we voted 15 times, because what today's the 15th, if everybody voted for the next 15 days, we can push that up so they can
totally push those numbers
make
up.
A difference.
You know, and, these guys, it's not much to ask. These guys go over and they fight, guys and gals go over and some of them give their lives, they give their mobility, they give a lot for the freedoms that we ask for today. And what do we ask for? Just go to our website and vote.
Exactly.
No money.
Easy to do.
Easy to do. So thanks, you guys, for letting me plug Freedom Dogs, because they're near and dear to my heart. And Freedom Dogs is also the program that my sister radio show, Military Mom Talk Radio, that airs on Mondays here on TogiNet. Tina Gonzalez, my co-host, her husband is a recipient of one of the Freedom Dogs, so made a huge difference in his life. And one of the things he talked about also was the companionship that the Freedom Dogs provide, that when these soldiers come home, from an unnatural situation like a war, they can suffer from PTSD, they can have TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, all these different things, and the Freedom Dog trains with the soldier coming home, and it's just an amazing program. So check it out, Freedom Dogs. Go to Pepsi Refresh, go to Refresh Everything, vote Freedom Dogs, Freedom Dogs, Freedom Dogs. I'm done with my Freedom Dog spiel.
Yeah.
Vote. Okay, vote. All right, so Christy, we're going to talk about hospitals and emergency rooms today. You ever been to one?
Yes, I have, actually. I was just thinking about all the injuries we've had with the kids, and I'm a little ashamed to say that I was the wimp and didn't go. My husband went.
Yeah, but he's also more qualified to go than you.
He is. He's, calm, cool, and collected, where I was, in a panic.
He's a firefighter.
I know.
Calm, cool, and collected.
Well, I guess he has to be. But, when I did take my little guy, Nicholas, to the emergency room because he had pneumonia. I guess it's been 2 years ago, and it was the middle of the night, and I took my mom with me too. But it was not. It was not a pleasant thing to do. You have to wait, and the baby's crying, and he's sick, and it was it's tough. It's tough. But the doctors and the nurses, I think they can make or break your experience, because if they're rude to you, then you're just, all the more uptight and upset, and you come in there upset and uptight anyway. So, I don't know.
No, it's hard. It's like you're already in a stressful situation. It's your kid or your family member, so you're, tweaked as it is. But then to come in, and the hard thing, that I think about, and this is one of the things we're going to talk to Denise about, is, for us, going to the hospital or going to the emergency is a relatively rare thing.
It is. I mean, for me, you don't go to the hospital unless you are, bleeding, really bad, or, you're dying. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, some people go there to the emergency room because they're not feeling well. They feel like they have the cold or the flu. And I know that because my husband is a firefighter who tells me those things, that they transport people that have headaches and stuff, little ones.
Not big, because I had a migraine one where I couldn't see once, and that was a bad one. I was scared. I actually went to the emergency room for that one. So, we're going to classify migraines different than just a headache. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's and sometimes too, I don't want to go to the emergency room for the sheer purpose of there's a bunch of sick people there.
I know. Do we really want to get what they have?
I know. I better be knocking on death's door before I go in the emergency room, because I'll probably pick up something worse than what I had going in.
Yes.
Well, and especially for, this is Motherhood Talk Radio, so when you talk about going to the emergency room, I do think twice about taking my kids with me, because my toddler, Wacky, he lays all over the floor. He'll lick the seats.
I know. It's hard to control them when you're worried about the other one who's really sick, but then you probably come home with 2 other sick kids.
Absolutely. Or they're I remember the last time, I had to go, and it was a couple of years ago, and it was with Wacky. He stopped breathing. He had trouble breathing, and so that was, the reason I took him. But I had to take Max with me, and Max had his pajamas on, and he has Monkey in his blanket, and he was, swimming in the germs on the floor. He was like laying on the floor, like dragging his blanket. I think he picked up every germ there.
Well, he'll be resistant to some of those diseases later.
That's right.
Picking up the resistance.
Well, so Denise, are you online with us today? Do we hear Denise? I don't hear Denise.
I didn't hear Denise.
Denise? Hello? Oh, there you are. There you are. It's so weird. It's like a delay. Are you in another country?
There is a delay on my end, too.
Oh. Can we hear each other?
I can. Let's do it again.
Okay. Denise, say, hi, I'm Denise.
Hi, I'm Denise.
Okay, well, that's a little bit better. We've got a couple minutes to the break, and there is a delay today, so bear with us if we sound like idiots on the air.
We probably do.
We do on a good day anyways.
It's fun.
So, Denise, tell us a little bit about your background. We have about a minute for you to let us know everything that's important to know about you.
Well, as Sandra said, I've been a nurse for 24 years, the last 4 of that in the ICU at a major trauma center here in California. And talking about swimming in germs drives me crazy when parents let their kids crawl all over the floor after I've told them they clean the floors, but there's still germs on them. So I have to say that was one thing that definitely grosses me out. But I have 2 daughters, Kaylee 14 and Emily 7, and I work not only in the ICU, but I teach nursing for a local community college as well. So I keep busy between the three jobs that I'm carrying. So.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, that's a lot, Denise. You're an amazing woman. You're a very good friend of mine. You've been instrumental when my kids are sick, and I'm like, should I take them to the doctor? Should I not? Because, not all of us pass, motherhood with flying colors, and it's just difficult. So I'm so glad that you're here today because, there's some things, too, that I've noticed about emergency rooms and not knowing when to do or what to do, and it's so great that you can be here today with us to talk about some of the do's and don'ts. We're here today with Christy Holly. This is Motherhood Talk Radio. We're here with Denise Bozay, who is a registered nurse of 24 years, 4 years in the ICU, and we're going to have lots of fun when we get back from the break.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Girlfriended is on TogiNet. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, with your hosts Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. This show is your chance to share, learn, laugh, and connect with other women. The Girlfriended principle was born out of loss.
Lisa had recently had her mother pass away from cancer, and my mom was murdered. A man just walking into a room and started a 23-second shooting spree.
I think one of the things we both realized going through those tragedies that you can be extremely okay and be extremely sad.
Check out girlfriended.com. And then be a part of Girlfriended, the radio show. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
Your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, they don't totally understand that emotional side to a woman like another woman does. And I think that's so important just to have somebody that you go, she gets me.
Check out the website, girlfriended.com. Don't miss Girlfriended with Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. What's your story? Are you living it? Well, you could be. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Her passion is helping others discover, create, and live their personal brands. Yep, you heard me. You have a brand. No different than Coke, Pepsi, or Nike. You are a walking, talking, living, breathing brand. You're not a logo. You're not a tagline. The choices you make become the path you take. This is your brand. Now, live your story. Your brand is not just what you say it is. It's also what others say it is. So what are you communicating? And how can you create an authentic brand? We'll take on these challenges with What's Your Story? Every week, Hillary will feature teens, moms, and organizations that are learning and living their story. Now, her passion is to help others discover, create, and live their personal brands. To find out more, go to inspiredbyfamily.com. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Back and Christy Holly.
Hey, moms. We are here today with our medical show. And doesn't that sound impressive?
It does.
It actually makes me feel like I'm a doctor.
Okay, I have to say one thing. Denise, my friend,
Yes.
I'm just going to say, because I know you said you were irritated with all the moms and people that let their kids crawl over the floor. Some of us don't let them do it. They just do it, and you can't control it. That's all I want to say.
Oh, no, I understand that.
Okay.
It's more when they're coming to visit people and their family members ill to begin with, and they set their purses on the floor, they set their kids on the floor, and please just pick them up and take them outside.
I know. I am guilty, though. I have to say, I've gone to visit people, and you're just kind of like, okay, just be quiet, and they're on the floor, and you think like, oh, well, we'll wash them later. But I will follow direction.
Man, I was
Or
so
at least
hoping for a mom fight.
at least use the hand sanitizer. That's all I ask. Use the hand
Okay.
sanitizer.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Fight. Mom fight. You know, I'm going to segue for a second and tell you about a fight my mom got in with another mom when I was a little girl. We were in a restaurant, and to be fair, I grew up in the country, and my mom would just let us run wild. You know, her way of calling us in at the end of the day was to whistle at the end of our dock, so everybody would come in from wherever they were on the lake or in the hills, and we'd hear this whistle like dogs. We'd come running. And so my mom was in Bob and Ruth, which is at the head of our lake, and another mom was there, and this mom is very, very well-groomed. You know, they always had new cars, and, you know, they just were not anything like us. And she used to get mad at my brother because he would, like, drive the boat hell-bent for leather and, like, drop us off at the dock, and my sister and I would water ski, and we would dry dock start. We'd actually stand on the dock and jump in the water on our skis so we would not get our hair wet for church.
That's great.
It was. I thought we were cool.
That is cool.
She didn't. And we were at Bob and Ruth one time, and my mom was taking us. We were all walking by, and I'm sure my sister and I looked like we were dragged through the hedge backwards. But, you know, she's made some comment. And my mom, who was almost a nun, you know, she's like this sweet little woman, looks at her, and she's like, she goes, what did you say? And then we were all on alert, you know, because it's like, you know, my brothers and I'll throw down with anybody. I don't care if it's my mom's friend. And she, like, makes some snarky little comment. I don't even know what it was. But my mom was like, she got right in her face, and she goes, are you talking about my kids? You want to go outside? And, you know, my brothers and I were like, yeah, it's a mom fight. I was hoping there would one be today.
No, I'm Denise is, she's not that kind of a mom.
Oh,
I'm not either.
Are you kidding, you two nitwits? If I had to be in a mom fight with someone, I would want Denise on one side and Christy on the other, because we would kick some serious mom, you know what.
You better believe it.
You better believe it. And if we got our asses kicked, Denise would there be to fix us.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I have a broken bone.
No.
The worst case scenario I'll bring my kids into with karate and Krav Maga, they should be able to take care of us as well. So.
I have to apologize for our listeners for using that bad word on the air.
I know.
But can't you say it on, like, network TV?
Yeah, but this is
radio.
You know, George Carlin had 7 words you can't say on TV. I don't think you can say it on radio either. So
No. All right, I apologize again for the second time. So what are we talking about? All right, today we're going to talk about summer injuries, because according to, oh my gosh, Viking says I can say whatever I want on internet radio. Woohoo! All right, I'll give you some profanity later. But
send all your emails and complaints to
send them to Rick Swanson at gmail.com. You can get them all. Poor Rick. Okay, so I guess, you know, I was looking, the University of Michigan, who I really don't like because I went to Northwestern, they have a great health minute, though. And they were talking about summer months bring more injuries to the emergency room than any other time of year. Denise, do you feel that's true, or do you think that you get them, pretty consistent year-round?
No, I would have to say spring and summer are probably the most common, mostly because people are out and about more. They're doing their spring cleaning, getting up on ladders, and then falling off them promptly, breaking their heads open, so to speak. And they're out on the road more, and they take a few more chances out on the road as well. So to hop on their motorcycles, etc., and they go a little too fast and get themselves involved in accidents. So I would have to say it's definitely more busy in the emergency room in the spring and summertime.
Yeah, well, I would think boating. I mean, well, the survey or the article here talks about that there's more drivers on the road. Many who are out of school and on summer break, and they're relatively inexperienced, or they might not drive during the school year. So they were talking about that being a big part of it, and then the kids being outside, and not wearing helmets. And Denise, do you see a lot of kids come into the emergency room with head injuries that could have been prevented by a helmet?
Oh, most definitely. A lot of parents don't feel it's necessary for their kids to wear helmets when they're riding a bike, even though there is a law for that, I believe, here in California anyway. And they're riding ATVs, horses. I see it all the time, and sometimes I'll even stop when people are riding their horses on the side of the road and tell them their kids should be wearing a helmet. If they choose not to wear one and they're over 18, that's their business, but their children should be wearing one to prevent one heck of a head injury. I've seen some really bad ones in the ICU, so I would have to say I'm definitely a proponent for helmet safety.
Well, and I think, it's one of those things that, a lot of us really just, we're either really judicious about wearing helmets, or we're like, oh, he'll be fine, because I think, most of us grew up without helmets. We grew up without seatbelts.
Well, I was going to say, we were without seatbelts even when I remember standing up in the back seat of my mom's car.
Sure. I was in the back of my dad's big green pickup truck, and there was no seats. We would just bounce around and hold on.
Well, cars were made like tanks back then, though, too. So nowadays they're made of much less expensive and less sturdy materials. So you're asking for trouble.
Well, and coming from you, you see the end result. We can, laugh and giggle about head injuries, but, we don't deal with them on a daily basis like you do. And these families that, have to manage children who have had head injuries and go on into adulthood, it can be really difficult.
Yes, it most definitely can. People don't realize it. The brain is not one of those body organs that can regenerate itself. So once the damage is done, it's done. So just people have to keep that in mind, I guess. But the same goes for keeping an eye on your kids when you're either at the beach or by the pool as well. So.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I've been rumored. I've actually been called to my face the pool Nazi because I was a lifeguard for many years, and there's the time it takes to answer a phone, or even just a seasoned person. Like I can tell a funny story about a family member who I won't name because she'll get really mad at me because we grew up together and she's older than me. But we were at the pool one day with my brothers, and her little 3-year-old at the time jumped in the hot tub, sunk right to the bottom, and my brothers are sitting there laughing. I'm talking to my sister around the edge, and I said, hey, what's Austin doing down there? And she looked down, and she's like, you guys know he can't swim, and 4 trained lifeguards sitting there. Finally, I think my older brother plucked him out. But, you don't think of these things and how fast a head injury can occur in the water.
No, very true. No. Not to mention a drowning. Drowning can occur in less than 2 minutes, and it can be in an inch of water. It doesn't even have to be a great big pool. So you really do have to keep an eye on your kids around the water as well.
Are those like bathtub injuries you see?
Bathtub, hot tub, pool injuries as well. Kids jumping in the pool, jumping a little bit too close, hit their head on the side of the pool, and that's all it takes. You can walk in the house to go get some lemonade for your kids and come back out, and your kid can be lying on the bottom of the pool. So, it's something you definitely have to keep in mind and have somebody watching them, even if it's an older sibling, at least someone to keep an eye on, to know that they're safe, and until you can come right back out and be with them. So.
Well, I think especially, my pool has an electronic pool cover on it, but if you have a pool cover, or if you have a pool that's oddly shaped, you can't get a pool cover on it, and it's, there does have to be an adult present, or, even a lifeguard, somebody assigned as a lifeguard present, when the kids are in the pool, because it is so fast, and it is so, the damage is so irreversible.
Right. No, and I commend you for having the pool cover as well as a fence around your pool, so that people can't just wander on your property and drown in your pool without you knowing about it, and on comes the lawsuit. So California is quite the litigious state.
It is, but I can tell you, the reason that I became a pool Nazi is that I used to be a guard on Lake Michigan when I lived in Chicago, and we had to get a whole group of people to make a chain of arms to walk all the way out chest deep and, walk the bottom of the lake to find a little boy. And we did find him, and he did die. And it was very quick, and it's one of those things that you can't ever get back. And, so you can't be too safe around a pool. You can't be too safe around any body of water. And, Christy, you were saying, like, don't go. Christy has a good rule about the water with little kids.
Which rule are you talking about?
The rule you walked in that was like, I'm not taking my kids to the beach. I'm not taking my kids to the lake.
Well, you're saying all these things could happen, and I just don't go to the beach. Just don't go. You won't get that terrible sunburn, because I'm sure you must see a lot of crazy sunburns. I know I've had
up to
some
a second and third degree burn from the sun.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying. I know I've had those on my white skin. Stay home.
Stay
home. Don't go outside.
Lock your children in the room until they're 21. Or what does Obama's health insurance go to today? 26. So you can be on the family health insurance till you're 26.
Oh, geez.
Well, it's
so much for kicking a kid out at 18 then, huh?
No, you can't get out at 18 anymore.
I'm kidding.
Oh, well, you guys, we're about ready to go to break. We're here with Denise Bose, and she is an ICU nurse with, I got to look at my notes here, because even though I know her personally, I can never remember how many years she's been at the hospital, 24 years. She's been with the ICU for 4, and we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some funny hospital stories from Denise. Tunes would be good.
Well...
Oh, here comes the tune.
Okay, good.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. No more mommy madness. The Sanity Hour is the antidote. It's the Sanity Hour with Ann Dunawald. Monday evenings at 6, 7 Central. Part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Join Ann as she guides parents through issues that arise from simply living in our current high-energy, high-pressure culture of perfection and achievement. Moms and dads are bombarded daily. Sign up for this, buy that, enrich your child's life, enhance your child's development. Worry about this danger, provide this experience. Ann Dunawald, PhD, is here to help. She's a licensed psychologist in independent practice in Dallas, specializing in women's mental health issues. And her mission here is to help women sort out the guilt and anxiety of the unrealistic demands of motherhood on a daily basis. For more information on her and her books, go to AnnDunawald.com. That's AnnDunewald.com. Arming women against the pressures of modern motherhood. Here to give moms balance and expectations, cutting themselves some slack. It's the Sanity Hour with Ann Dunawald. Monday evenings at 6, 7 Central. Part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Let's chat it up with Bloom Talk with Barb Scala on TogiNet. Thursday afternoons at 3 Eastern, 2 Central. And find out how women are growing, blossoming, and blooming in their friendships and careers, health, and so much more. It's Bloom Talk with Barb Scala. Check out our website, bloomwithbarb.com. Whether you want to transplant your life or just do a little pruning, Bloom Talk will inspire you to cultivate the lifestyle you want to live. Join lifestyle coach and co-author of Sanity Savers, Barb Scala, each week on Bloom Talk and sprout your dreams. Grow your life.
I hear a lot from women. I want meaning in my life. I want a fulfilling life. I want to do something that's exciting. And I can control my life instead of my life controlling me. I can tell the world this is who I am and this is what I'm all about.
Barb will introduce you to dynamic guests and real women who are redesigning, rebuilding, and reinventing their own lives. And Bloomstorm how you can dream, create, and grow the lifestyle you want to live. It's Bloom Talk with Barb Scala. Thursday afternoons at 3 Eastern, 2 Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, moms. This is Sandra Beck coming to you live with Christy Holly. And, all right, what are you doing? Are you drinking? Are you
getting
eating?
coffee.
Getting coffee.
More coffee.
Okay, it's 3:30 in the afternoon here, and Christy, I don't know what you're doing, but you're getting coffee, and I can hear you clinking around.
Sorry.
Okay, we are here with Denise Bose, and she's an intensive care nurse right now, currently. She has been for 4 years. Prior to that, 24 years in the ICU. Denise, you must have seen some pretty wild things in your day.
I can say that I honestly have definitely seen quite a few crazy things in my days.
Do you have any good stories you want to share with us?
Well, we did have one gentleman in the ER that came in, probably had some psych issues, I would have to guess, and he was very angry because he couldn't get anything to drink because he was going to have some type of surgery. I don't even remember what now. So he eventually rocked himself back and forth until he could stand up with the gurney still strapped to his back and went to run after the nurse and hit the door jamb with the gurney and kept trying to go through, and the gurney kept hitting the door jamb. I mean, I guess she had to be there, but it was hilarious.
Oh, my gosh. No, I can just see this man trying to get through the door with a gurney strapped to his back and not being able to fit through.
That is definitely one of the funnier ones. And we had a gentleman one time who was in isolation, and he was on his call light at least every 2 to 3 minutes, maybe every 5 minutes. And it would be for something as simple as to hand him his water, which was reachable distance. And every time we'd have to go into the room, we'd have to put on all the garb, the gowns, the gloves, the mask, everything. So finally, my friend, who happened to be his nurse for that day, told him if he hit the call light one more time, it was going to eject him from the bed, and flat against the wall he would go. And that at least bought her 30 minutes.
That is hilarious. See, nurses are people, too. So,
yes, well, you have to have a sense of humor in the job, otherwise you would be one down, depressed person every day.
I can imagine. Christy, how about you? You ever been in the hospital? Had any good stories?
Well, I was just thinking when you talked about the isolation thing, that brought up something. When I first met my husband, he got meningitis. He felt sick, so he said, "Oh, I don't feel good. Take me to the emergency room," which at that time I thought, okay.
Big loser.
Yeah, we're going because you don't feel good. But, we got there, and he was just really sick. They ended up giving him a spinal tap, and it was, we were there all night long, and it turned out that he had meningitis. So they put him in a room, an isolation room, and, I was there with him the whole time.
Well, technically, you saved his life.
Technically, I did.
He owes you.
This is true.
Forever.
This is true. Forever. I know. Well, so as the people are coming in, the nurses are coming in with all their, you call it garb, whatever, all their
hazmat suit or whatever.
Yes, I'm sitting there going, there's a problem. Like, how come they didn't give anything to me?
Well, you already walked in with him. You're covered with germs. You're
I
his
know,
wife.
but how come, nobody said, you should probably have a mask on, or, like when I left, like nobody even cared. I know. They're coming in all protected, and I'm sitting there with, nothing.
Basically, it's exactly what she said. The reason they don't have you put it all on is they figure you've already been exposed to him and all of his germs, so you don't have to wear the same type of garb that we do. So, like, what if I had it and just went and spread it to all the people at work? I mean, I got out of work that day. Well, hopefully you did some good hand washing. That ideally, that would be the case. But it probably should have been somebody's responsibility to make sure you at least washed your hands when you walked out of the room. And I think I would have went home and taken a hot shower. I got to call in sick to work. I said, I could have meningitis, so do you want me to come in? So, I mean, I'm thinking they said no. Yeah, they did say no, so that was a little day off. But I've been when I had, I've had 3 C-sections. So the last time I got really, really, really sick, I think I had a drug reaction to whatever they gave me. So I was like hot and sweaty and itchy and just moving all around. And it does happen when you're in labor. It was after. Oh, it was after. Okay. Like I was had these weird twitches and my skin itched and I had vomited in my hair. Ew. I know. I'd have to guess morphine, but it was horrible. And, the hospital was overcrowded, so they put me in a room with this other girl who, she looked beautiful after her C-section. I looked like hell because I had vomit in my hair, and I was sweaty and was itchy and jerking all around. And, my doctor came in, and I had this catheter, where the catheter goes. Yeah, where the catheter goes. And my doctor comes in, and he's like, oh, hi, because we're sharing a room with this beautiful girl who just gave birth. And he's like, oh, you look so beautiful. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, now you look like you just had a baby. I mean, really? Really? That doctor feel good? Thank you very much. I know. I just wanted to beat him. But But you couldn't afford it because then he would sue you. Exactly. So he's still my doctor because I love him. Yeah, he's got to pay his malpractice insurance somehow. Exactly. So anyhow, that's my story. Oh, well, that's a good story. So, Denise, from your point of view, we're here going we're the service people of the nurses. The nurses take care of us when we're sick, and thank God that they do. Yes. But what are some things that we can do when we're in either the emergency room or we're in the hospital that can actually make for a more harmonious relationship? Because, when I had my first son, I was in the hospital for 10 days after I had him. I had complications, and I happened to be running a company at the time and the only one who could sign certain things, so they kept faxing stuff to the nurses' station. Mm-hmm. And the nurses, to a point, were really helpful, but by the 3rd day, they're like, hey, look, we went to nursing school, we're not secretaries, and I kept jamming up their fax, and I was trying to use my computer, which actually brought the phone system down on the floor, because it just looked like a general phone plug to me. So you're sure you were their favorite patient? I was their least favorite patient until about day 3, and then I called my company and said, okay, we sent fruit baskets, we sent cheese platters, we sent flowers, everything we could do to the nurses' station. And I got to tell you, nurses can be bought. Yeah, chocolate works really well, too, I have to say. Chocolate is definitely, See's candy, nuts and chews preferably, but any of that works. It being swimsuit season, probably the fruit baskets would be a good thing. Yeah, but what are some things that we can do, if we're in the emergency room or we're, in the hospital for whatever reason, whether we're a patient, whether we're caring for a family member while we're there, what are some things that, what would be your advice to somebody going to the hospital for whatever reason to kind of get the best service possible? I would have to say is bear with us because a lot of times the emergency rooms are busy. Some people are there for more critical things than you might be there for, and they do triage you when they bring you in. So what does that mean? We don't know what that term means unless you watch MASH. Assess the situation and determine whether or not it's something that emergently needs to be seen or it's something that can wait a little while, and then the least critical patients are seen after that. For example, so kind of like splinters to the left, heart attack to the right. Right. So they make the decision as to where people where people fall in the being called in type. Like, for example, when my husband was quite ill and passed out in the waiting room, the emergency room, they brought him in and his blood pressure was 70/40. They took him right in. Whereas the person with the little kid with an earache had to wait for a little while. So that would be one thing. Probably one of the biggest things I can say is if you have a large family, make one person the spokesperson and have everybody else call that person rather than calling the nurse's station. Because if you're getting 40 phone calls a day from family members, you can't care for the patient, and that's what you're there for. So I would say that would be something that would also make the nurses a little bit happier. I do have to say, though, if a nurse has gotten to the point where she's lost her compassion, she needs to get out of the job. But that's just a personal feeling. But definitely, if you need something, call for it. But try and group together. But understand if we don't answer your call light immediately, it's because we're caring for one of our other patients as well, and that we'll get there as quickly as we can.
Well, and I think that's, that whole communication thing, I see that a lot. When there's a big family, like even when I had my second son, I was actually in the hospital, just me and my son, because I don't have any family out here, and my ex-husband, one of the reasons he is my ex-husband, wasn't around for most of it. But the girl in the bed next to me, I'm like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? And, and they were all swarming in on the poor nurse, and they all wanted, they were all asking, like, the same question over and over.
Definitely, and that happens all the time. And people have to realize, too, maybe not so much in the maternity area, but in other areas of the hospital, that patients need to rest as well. The hospital I work for has instituted a quiet time in the afternoon where there is no visitation, the lights are dimmed, and the patients can rest, because sometimes patients get visitors every 5 minutes, they're not getting any rest. They can't heal if they can't sleep or rest. So
right, because our bodies do heal, they do grow, when we're resting.
Right.
And I would think you guys need a break.
Yeah, we do as well, especially from the million questions. But it does give us a chance to catch up on maybe some charting and stuff that we didn't get done because we're busy at the bedside. So,
well, speaking of breaks, we're about to go to break. We're here with Denise Bose, and she is a registered nurse. She has been one for 24 years. She's also been in the ICU for the past 4. Christy has shared with us some remarkable stories from her life.
Remarkable.
Yeah, just remarkable. But, we get to know you over the air. It's all good. It's all good. We're going to come back after the break, and we're going to have some great stories. We're going to have a really great story from Denise about one of the most amazing things that have ever happened to a nurse.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Combine Snide and Remark, and you've got Snark. Combine Lisa Mena and Valia Alvarez on Monday nights, and you've got Deep Dish Snark. Monday nights at 9, 8 Central, part of the Her Insight Network. When you've had enough at work or at home, and you're ready to laugh, join Lisa and Valia for their no BS look at the world and the people in it. They'll be serving up a no-holds-barred take on pop culture, current events, entertainment, and family matters, with segments like Accidentally Helpful, TV is Not My Hobby, and Who Sucks This Week. Deep Dish Snark delivers something for every girl who enjoys life with a dash of sarcasm. Lisa Mena is a former TV news anchor turned stay-at-home mom. She's making sure if anyone screws up her kids, it's her. Valia Alvarez suffers life as a jack of all trades, mistress of none, by juggling a PR career, marriage, motherhood, and more. Don't miss Deep Dish Snark with Lisa Mena and Valia Alvarez, Monday nights at 9, 8 Central. part of the Her Insight Network, on TogiNet.com. Get ready for the Not So Soccer Mom, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central, on TogiNet with Jill Hickey. You name it, from politics to pop culture to Jill's search for the perfect bronzer and chicken salad. The Not So Soccer Mom will weigh in on it all. The sentence, "I have no opinion about that," is one that Jill has never uttered. In the early 90s, Jill finally decided to put her thoughts, opinions, mom advice, love of pop culture, hummus, and Starbucks, working out, cosmetic shopping, and politics into an actual website, and thus NotSoSoccerMom.com was born. Shortly after her fourth child, a boy, Jerome, now she's really got tons of topics to share with you. This is Laugh Out Loud Funny, and we're not kidding. What's a loud Nebraska girl who lived in Little Rock for many years and now is up in the Northeast doing? Chronicling her opinions on everything. The wheels aren't off yet, but it's close. It's the Not So Soccer Mom with Jill Hickey, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central, on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, moms, we're here. Christy and I are chatting away just like two magpies, and, gosh, I hope you didn't hear what we were talking about, but maybe you did. Maybe. So we're here with Denise Bose, and we were talking about pool issues, safety issues, and, some kind of do's and don'ts when you're in the hospital. Let the nurses do their job. And I think the thing that came out of the last segment that to me was most powerful was that, especially if you're there, if you're from a big extended family or there's a lot of people there, appoint one person to go to the nurse's station, one person to interact with the nurse to get the information, and then that person funnel the information back to the other family members, because the nurses do have a vital job to do there. And Denise, what's most amazing about you always to me is your unbelievable compassion. You seem to have just, a wealth of it that, and I think even at one of the hospitals you worked for, you were in the running for most compassionate of all the nurses. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. This past year, I was up for it during Nurses Week, most compassionate. Didn't win, but I was a runner-up, and it was nice to be nominated, just like an Emmy or an Oscar. So.
Right, for your profession. Well, you're a winner with us, and that's why we have you on the show today. And about a year ago, you shared a story with me about a baby that you were taking care of, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to share that story with our listeners today.
Sure, not a problem. That story actually occurred quite early in my career. When I was working in the neonatal intensive care unit of a large metropolitan hospital, and the baby was a twin with two young parents. Dad was in the military and was brought home on an emergency basis because his wife went into labor. And unfortunately, the one twin died shortly after birth, but the other twin had survived and had been doing well, but developed some complications. And I had just been on vacation, actually. I was the child's primary nurse and was caring for her on any day that I was working. And she developed some major complications and was not expected to survive. So that one particular night, I was asked to be at the bedside because the baby wasn't expected to survive the evening. When we knew the time was coming close, we did call both parents and let them know to come on in, and they asked that I at least stay with the baby. They were coming as quickly as they could, but they had quite a distance to drive. At that point, I could see that the family wasn't going to make it in, so I wrapped the little girl nicely in a blanket and held her in my arms in a rocking chair. And as I watched the monitor go down to 0, I could feel her spirit come through my hands and my arms, up through in my heart and out the top of my head. I have to say it was probably the most spiritual experience I've ever had. This day I still remember it, and that happened 23 years ago. So, but I do have to say that, we do as nurses help, not only help people to get well, but we also help them to have a peaceful and meaningful death. And I will say that the family was, of course, devastated that they didn't make it there, but they were happy to know that their baby was not alone at the time she passed. And I did, tell them about feeling her spirit come through me, and they said that was more than they could ever ask for. So I do have to say that, nursing has its ups and downs, but, some people touch your heart, and you don't forget them.
It's an amazing story, Denise, and what's more amazing is that, we take for granted, we go to the hospital, we, ask for this, we ask for that, we need when we go there. And, there are these nurses and doctors that are giving, and, that kind of giving is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of the job, and, but it's an integral part, and people coming into nursing for the first time, if you're in it for the money, I mean, granted, the money's good, don't get me wrong, but if you're in it for the money, then you're in it for the wrong reason. You need to be in it to help people, in it to help them either get well or, like I said, have a peaceful, end to your life. And, I don't know, it's something I've always known I was going to be in the medical field, just didn't know exactly in what capacity. But I can honestly say I don't question for a minute the fact that I chose nursing as a profession. So,
well, and you're also an educator as a nurse. You're educating young nurses today.
That is true. I do teach clinical nursing for a local community college as well. So I try to instill in those, my students, the fact that, it's okay to cry. I mean, don't be crying harder than your patient, but it's okay to cry if they share something with you. I mean, if you're wailing and they're trying to, console you, then you're probably overdoing it. But
but it is
you
okay
definitely
to
have to, have to have the compassion, and you have to put yourself in their place too. They're not well, they're not feeling good. They're going to be cranky. It's understandable, and you just, have to try to make them as comfortable as you can. And some people are just plain cranky, and it's not going to matter what you do. So you have to realize that too.
Well, and what are some other things for any of our listeners out there that might think about going into nursing? What do you think the best part of nursing is?
I would have to say, seeing that you've made a difference, seeing that you've either helped that person go from a devastating situation to a better situation, or, that you've helped them to deal with whatever it is that they might need to deal with. And, it's rewarding to see. We've had patients come back that we didn't expect would survive that did. And one of our former patients actually came back and has decided to go to nursing school because he wanted to give back what he received. So, it's nice to know you made a difference in that respect. So,
what's some of the hard things about being a nurse that people may not realize?
The long hours, the having to put up with some egos, mostly doctors' egos. No offense to any doctors out there, but there are a fair number of them that have egos that need to be stroked regularly, and after a while it gets a little exhausting to do that and care for your patients. So I would have to say, and then, dealing with, some family members that are a little overbearing and have, don't realize that we're trying to help their family member. They only see it in their way, but you have to put yourself again in their shoes and think about it being your mom or your dad or your family member, and sometimes it's a little easier to deal with that.
Well, and to me, and I'm sure this is going to anger a lot of doctors out there, but to me, in the times that I've spent in the hospital, and my first son was in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, to me the nurses are really the unsung heroes of the hospital, because, it's like when you think about having a baby, even just, that kind of simple fact of life, the nurses are the ones who care for you. By the time the baby's ready to come out, sure, the doctor comes in for that moment of glory, but, the other 22 hours, you're there with the nursing staff. And I'd like to share just this funny little story about, when I was in labor with my first son, it wasn't showing up on the monitors, and it wasn't, nothing was going right with this labor. And the doctor would come in, and he would puzzle, and he would talk to the nurses and puzzle again, and blah, blah, blah. And then, this little old Russian nurse that everybody hated, who was mean as sin, and she was mean to me. And but she came in, and she's like, "You're having back labor. You need to do this, this, and this." And, she just came in, and she took charge. And she wasn't the doctor. She was just a nurse who had been delivering babies for 30 years. And, so they really, truly are. You guys are the unsung heroes of the hospital.
Well, and I don't think people realize that we're there 24/7, maybe not specifically one nurse, but the nurses are there 24/7. The doctors come in for 10 minutes, write their note, and make their money. So, granted, there are some doctors that are absolutely fantastic, and there are others that aren't so much. But I feel that we do a vital job, and, like I said, I probably will do it until I'm old and decrepit and just can't walk around those halls anymore.
Until you become the patient.
Yeah. Well, God willing, I hope not. But no offense to any of my nurse friends out there, but I don't want my weight put up on the whiteboard. So they already know my rules for if I end up in the ICU.
That's funny, because I said the same thing, too. When I was having one of my kids, I told the nurse, I'm like, do not, under any circumstances, talk about my weight in front of my husband. It's one thing to know how much you weigh. It's another thing for them to, actually, guess. Because they don't usually guess right, but that was my thing. It's like,
well, at least if they're going to do it, put it in kilograms, because it looks better that way.
This is true.
Right, either put it in kilograms or put it if I was standing on the planet Mars.
There you go.
When you're on Mars, you weigh 40% less.
There you go. 40%.
Yeah, but that's one of the embarrassing things, I think, for all of us when we go in, no matter what we're in there for. And I remember one guy, and I was really fit and trim. I was in college, but I was, a college swimmer and a college athlete, and I stood on the scale, and the male nurse was like, "Damn, girl, you weigh a lot." I almost punched that man. I don't care that he was wearing a uniform. I just, you just don't say those things. Well, you know what, girls? We are out of time. We had a great show today. Christy, I want to thank you for being my lovely co-host as always. And Denise, you were fabulous. And, I want to put a note out to the family of that little girl to say, we're so sorry that happened, but we're so thankful that Denise was there, and that, we can hope that if any of that situation faces us at any point, that we have a nurse as loving and compassionate as Denise. Absolutely. Thank you for being here today, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of Motherhood Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly, part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com.